Well, good morning. I'd like to speak with you today about the idea of living a life well lived, or more specifically, how there are two things, in my opinion, that play a heavy part in this living of a good life. And I think if you pay just a little bit of attention to detail, you'll find that it's within these two things where joy and happiness reside. The first thing is balance, life balance, and the permission that you give yourself to not only live your life with a sense of passion and purpose, but the permission that you give yourself to put you first. Because it's only then, I think, that you can truly be your best self for others. The second thing is the approach that you take to each new day, each new gift or opportunity that presents itself to you each morning when you wake up. I'd like to say, just as a quick side note, how amazing it is to me that oftentimes the most beautiful mentors and the most incredible inspirations in our lives come to us from the most unexpected people and from the most unexpected places. I've been fortunate enough over the last couple of years to have had two experiences that have absolutely snapped me wide awake and have changed my life in such profound and immeasurable ways. I feel compelled to share them with you. The first experience came to me from a true hero of mine, my not-so-little 8-year-old boy named Max. Now, Max was given an assignment at the beginning of first grade. And essentially, he had to take a blank piece of A3 paper and a box of crayons, and he had to draw how he saw his father, me. Everything that encompasses who I am as a person from his little perspective. Well, I was wildly excited about this project, as you can imagine. But the first thing that came to my mind, honestly, was how is he going to get all of this awesomeness onto one little piece of A3 paper? Right? Like, isn't he going to need the entire middle school hallway to craft his Picasso-like mural of his dad? I had visions of this kaleidoscope of image and color exploding off the page. Things like basketballs and books, rainbows, sunsets, sunrises, eagles, all the things that I really hold dear in my life. And I came rushing home every day that week. Until finally, on the Friday, I rushed through the door, and there's Max saying, "Daddy, I finished my project." I was like, awesome! Sit down at that table immediately. I'm going to pour myself a big drink, and we are going to spend the evening unpacking your father, and it's going to be amazing. Better than your favorite movie, or at least better than mine. So I go to the kitchen, I get myself a drink, I come back to the table. Max reaches into his bag, he pulls out his project, and he opens it up. And there, staring back at me, is nothing but a stick man holding a computer. And my world was rocked. Rocked. I don't remember if the glass smashed on the floor or not, but I do remember when I put Max to bed that evening, locking myself in the bathroom and wading through a pool of self-pity and self-loathing, trying to figure out how I had possibly arrived at a place where my 6-year-old son saw me in that way. I thought about how I was spending my days, and I came to the acute realization that in my attempt to become the world's greatest middle school principal, I had lost myself and everything that I held true to myself along the way. So I made a pact that evening to change my life and to find balance, because this is how I was spending my days. I was getting into work early, 6 o'clock in the morning. I was hammering through every email that I convinced myself needed my immediate response. I was taking care of every issue, I was putting out every fire, and I was giving every ounce of myself back to the surrounding community, and I was leaving nothing left for myself. I stopped coaching, I stopped exercising, and I put on 20 pounds, and I got to 200 pounds for the first time in my life. I'd come home late from work, and when I arrived, I was barely present. I would rush through dinner. I would have conversations with my wife, but only about the frustrations I was having during the workday. I would kind of play with my kids, and I would kind of read them books, but the whole time, my mind was focused on the corner of the room where that computer lay, just desperate to find out if there was something else that needed my immediate attention. I was pouring myself large drinks every night because I felt like I deserved it after some long and hard day at the office. And I was losing myself. Funny enough, I was losing the parts of me that allowed me to get the job in the first place. And I convinced myself, or tricked myself into thinking that that's what true leadership was. So like I said, I made a pact. I set my alarm for 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got up and I went for the most inspiring and life-changing run of my life. And I told myself that I am going to find balance in my life and put myself first, damn the result. I still get to work pretty early in the morning, but now I allot half-hour blocks of time throughout the day to check my email, but I also allot half-hour blocks of time for me, to think, to read, to research, to dream. I started coaching again, girls soccer, boys basketball. I started exercising, and I took that 20 pounds off and I kept it off. I started playing soccer on Sundays with my boy. I play basketball when I can. I come home at a decent hour from work, and when I'm home, that computer goes away and I am present. I now have great conversations with my wife about everything except for work. We talk about the best parts of our day. We have family dance parties, and we tickle fight with the kids. I play with my kids. I read them books. And I've taken back my life. And here's the thing. By finding balance and by putting myself first, I've actually become a better middle school principal. I have more energy, I smile more, I'm happier. Balance is where happiness resides. Putting yourself first, it's only then that you can truly be your best self for others. There's a great quote out there by a mentor of mine named Al Adams, and he says, if you're solely committed to an institution, you should be. And like any good educator, or any educator worth his salt, I decided to give Max a redo, a retake, an opportunity to re-showcase his learning. And this time, I think he got it right. The best part about that photo is that really handsome stick man, he's no longer holding that computer, he's holding a copy of Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is my favorite author and our favorite thing to do before we go to bed every night. Balance is where happiness resides. Putting yourself first, it's only then that you can be your true self for others. The next experience I'd like to share with you comes to me from a dear, dear friend of mine and a colleague of many of ours who died a couple of months ago after a not-so-long battle with an aggressive form of cancer. And that roller coaster year was sad and hard for all of us. I remember the first time that I heard that there was an issue with Jason. I was walking down the middle school hallway, and like usual, I heard some beautiful music coming from his classroom. And I popped in, and there he was at his piano, playing some inspired Billy Joel tune. And I sat down and I listened, and when he was finished, we talked for a while until he finally said, Dan, I think after school I need to go to the doctor. I've been having this really bad case of acid reflux. And lately, I've been having such a tough time swallowing. I said, Jason, yeah, go right away. Take care of yourself. Go to the doctor. But for God's sake, stop eating so much spicy food. And we both kind of giggled. Well, that supposed acid reflux quickly turned into a death sentence. And the end came way too quick. I was fortunate enough over the last couple of weeks of Jason's life to have some really hard and difficult conversations with him all around life and death, love, regret, attitude, and the approach that you take to each new day. It's funny, one of the final things that Jason said to me was, Dan, cancer has been such a crazy experience, and I hate to say it, but in a weird way, it's actually made me a better person. It's taught me so many incredible life lessons. And then in his beautiful spirit, he said to me, "The problem, Dan, is that it looks like it's going to kill me before I have a chance to put those lessons into practice." So I asked Jason about those life lessons, and he shared them with me, and I would like to share a few with you. Jason talked all about love and affection. And he says if you love somebody, if you really care about somebody, you need to tell them all the time. You have to thank them for the person that you are because of what they've given you, and you have to be grateful for everything that they've done to make you who you are. You have to approach every conversation that you have with the people that you care about like it's the last conversation you'll ever have. Jason says you can never, ever tell the people in your life that you love them enough. Say what you need to say and say it often. He also talked about affection. And like me, Jason was a hugger. And he liked to tell people that if you're not a hugger, you need to get over it. He says if you come across somebody that has changed your life in some positive way, somebody you love or somebody you care about, don't just reach out for a quick handshake or some throwaway pat on the back. Grab a hold of them and muckle on and linger for a couple of seconds. And feel that positive energy that flows together in that way. Jason promises it'll change your day for the better. He also talked about regret and mistakes. And he said, oftentimes people take those regrets and the mistakes and they shove them away and they hide them up on the shelf because they're either embarrassed of the things they've done or they're ashamed of the people that they were when they did them. But this is what he says. He says those mistakes and those regrets, that's the good stuff. That's the stuff that you need to take off the shelf and hold close and embrace and learn from it. He says we're all works in progress. We're all unfinished products right up until our last dying day. Jason also talked a lot about attitude. He said attitude is everything. The way you frame and reframe the experiences in your life and to see them as opportunities and possibilities instead of frustrations and disappointments, that makes who you are. Who are you to the world? How are you putting yourself out there to other people? Your attitude not only affects your mood, but it affects everybody else around you. How much attention are you paying to the person that you are for others? It reminds me of another great quote that was shared to me by my brother, Tim. My brother Tim is the biggest inspiration in my life, but that's another story for another time. But a couple of years ago, he shared this Maya Angelou quote with me, and it says, if you want to change something in your life, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. The last thing that Jason and I talked about at length was the approach that you need to take for each new day. Now, as you can imagine, Jason approached his life like every new day was a gift. But it's not because he was running out of days. Man, we're all running out of days. It was because of the person that he was. He woke up every morning with the sole intention of inspiring somebody else, making somebody else's life better, whether it's a colleague or a friend or a complete stranger or a student. That's just who he was. He focused so much on the beauty of our world that is screaming out for our attention, and it's everywhere all around us all the time. And it's the little things in our life. That's where joy and that's where beauty lives. Jason looked for those little things. Little things like the taste of your food, the smell of the world after it rains, a rainbow, the smiles and the laughter that you share between the people that you love or your kids in your classroom, the smiles and the laughter that you hear on the playground or in the field, the miracle that is that sky blue pink cotton candy sunrise or sunset. Jason says, if you don't have your breath taken away at least once a day by the beauty of our world, your approach is wrong. How much attention are you paying to detail? Jason once told me that the time between the first day of the rest of your life, now, and your last day is so, so short. Balance is where happiness lives. The approach to a new day is where you'll find joy. Jason kept telling me, Dan, don't resist the day. Don't resist the day. Jason was a beautiful human being and a wonderful spirit. And he changed my life, and he inspired me in so many ways. In the last couple days of his life, he implored me to take these lessons to heart and live your life in a way that is inspiring for yourself and for others. He asked me to take these lessons to heart, and I'm asking you to do the same. Because one day, when you least expect it, and a lot sooner than you might think, you might just wake up and have a tough time swallowing.